Good morning. Today I'll talk about the research papers, in particular Report 1. You may notice that I've changed the name of the assignment link to Explanation of Assignments because actually the assignments are available through the assignment link on the Course Tools menu. But on occasion I need further explanation, perhaps make a video such as this one to explain some requirements, maybe talk about some hints, give some hints, and perhaps give some warnings of things to not do. So let's talk about the assignment that is due on September 11th. Notice there are a couple of other assignments that are due earlier, and those will be addressed in another video. So let's look at the Report 1 assignment. Instructions are to go to this web page for explanations. You can copy and paste this address into a browser, but more simply just go to the Research Reports link on the Course Tools menu. Going to the Research Reports takes you to a web page actually outside of Blackboard that has some key elements, dates for the 4 reports throughout the semester, and then an important link where I have a sample paper which talks about how to properly do citations within the paper and how to do a reference page. So clicking on that will open up a Microsoft Word document which first explains these 2 key elements, and then we'll actually give a sample paper with these elements in red to point them out. So let's talk about the 2 things. This is APA, which stands for American Psychological Association. This is the APA style. Some of you may be familiar with, may have learned in your English class, the MLA style, which is Modern Language Association formatting, but in the college business we use the APA. So let's talk about citations and how to do a reference page. Citation is simply whenever you paraphrase or in particular quote an author, you must cite the author and the date of publication. So it's just author's last name, comma, date of publication. If the author's name is used in a sentence, then only the date is important. Here's an example of a reference page list. Notice that we have author's first initial only. So we have author or author's names, date of publication, and then the title of the article, finally the name of the publication from which the article comes. Notice that the title of the article is not italicized, it's not underlined, it's just in uppercase style. The name of the publication is, however, either underlined or italicized. The volume number, page number, sometimes that's available, not always. Remember to put your reference page in alphabetical order by author. So what follows is sample paper. I put some citations. I put them in red just to show that this is what I'm doing. Scrolling down to the reference page, looks like this, alphabetical. This type of indentation is preferred. Actually, I'm not too fussy about indentation, but I am pretty fussy about the author's first initial only, the date of publication, and underlining or italicizing the name of the journal. Going back to some more requirements, it must be at least 3 pages, double-spaced. That is in 10 or 12 size font. I've had students who actually use huge font, 24-point font, to try to make it look like 3 pages, but it turns out it was really just 1 page in really, really big print. Students will try just about anything, but roughly 3 pages. Not too fussy about that. I am impressed by a 4 or 5 page paper. Shows the student really had some interest and really trying to do a good job with the paper. The reference page in your paper should be the last page. It should not be a separate file. Students have done this in the past. It's just the last page. It's on a separate page of the same document. So you'll send me 1 file only, which will include the paper with its reference page. There must be at least 3 articles. You may include a web page. A web page may not have an author. It may not have a date of publication. That's okay if it's a good web page. But the paper should not just be from web pages. There should be some actual journal articles. I've given some links for our library's database for articles. It's called EBSCOhost. If you have any problem using that, just call the library reference desk. I've also included a link to Google Scholar, which is just a specialized part of Google where when you search using the same types of key terms you would use in any search, what the results are limited to articles that were published in journals. You might find some of these articles a bit too much like college professors writing research papers that are a little bit difficult to understand, but you can find some pretty good articles here. It's just an extra resource for you. Notice that I have in all caps that the reports are due by the scheduled date. I say by midnight. I think on Blackboard I have 11:30 because I'm always confused about if you pick 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. students get confused. So it's 11 p.m. just before midnight. But if you submit the paper after midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, that's fine. As long as it's done by the date that it's due. And sometimes Blackboard will actually say if it's just a minute late, we'll refer to it as missed. But as long as I have the paper on the due date, it's not going to be penalized. But I will accept papers late, if there's an excuse, but there is a penalty of 10% per week for any late papers. Finally, here's a list of topics. I've got several topics for you to choose from. Some of these topics have been around for a long time. Some of them are really kind of new ideas, new issues in the information technology world. Actually, some of these topics were suggested by students and turned out to be good topics, so I continue to use them. I also have a couple of topics that reference a podcast, which I have a few podcasts linked to on the course content page. So if you choose to listen to one of these podcasts, you can use the podcast. A couple of them are just a few minutes long. You can use that as one of your articles. One of them, the one about the search engine, is an in-depth podcast, an in-depth analysis, or an in-depth interview with an expert on search engines. So you can just use that one and maybe one other article. Some pretty interesting concepts in that podcast. So I guess that's about it. Remember that you should try to upload your report here, and this is where it will be graded. So you add your attachments. If you have some problem with this, you can send as a mail attachment to my Delta State, jkandies@deltastate. You can send it to my office email. I'd rather you do that than use the Blackboard email. Of course, you cannot do that within Blackboard. You'll have to go out to your Yahoo Mail or your Google Mail or whatever mail program you prefer to use, and just send me an attachment on that. Okay, so that's it. Any questions, just send me a note or give me a call, and good luck with your first report.